Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tech Summit Podcast, episode number 9. I'm Chris.
I'm Francisco.
All right, everyone, remember, follow the social media right down over here.
And also, do not forget that our podcast is also available on Anchor if you would rather listen rather than watch. So do
That's
make
right.
sure to grab that link, which is going to be down in the description too. And no worries for you guys that are wanting for the podcast to be moved over to Spotify as well. We do plan on doing our best to getting it there and also for Apple Podcasts.
And SoundCloud.
And SoundCloud, hopefully. But until then, we do have Anchor and YouTube to rely on.
That's right. And if anyone has any other suggestions or places that they want the podcast to be, please leave it in the comments below. We'll definitely keep them in mind. We probably will not be able to etch them onto vinyl or like those like really old-fashioned tapes. I know Hello Internet podcast did that one time. They put on like a sort of like a clay record vinyl sorts.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, we're going to start us off here. Francisco, you have an update from last episode.
I do. So, unfortunately, I haven't been able to get my hands on an M1 chip for the MacBook Pro and the MacBook Air, which, by the way, was a central part of the podcast from last episode. That essentially Apple has created their own CPUs, and it's essentially, well, one unit that has a CPU, a GPU, and its RAM built in onto that one unit, and it's Apple's own silicon.
Mm-hmm.
So they were touting a lot of really big numbers, like
98%.
Yeah, 98% in terms of performance
over PC.
Yeah,
laptops.
with their apps,
faster.
of course.
98% faster, yeah.
Yeah, with their apps, of course.
With their apps.
And then when it came to battery efficiency, like those numbers were closer to 20 hours of like on-screen usage, in case you really don't want to use your charger for 20 hours straight.
Right.
And, well, the one point of reference that I have here is actually a video from Marquez Brownlee, where he was actually able to get his hands on an M1 MacBook Pro, the 13-inch, and the battery life claims are indeed real.
Really?
Yes, as in, if you are just like doing really basic stuff, it really can't last you that long. And I'm stuttering this much because I'm dumbfounded at the fact that this is actually true. Yeah. Flabbergasted, I guess, would be the right word. But when it came to performance, there was one issue with it, and it was that not a lot of apps would be compatible with this chip quite yet.
Yet.
On the MacBook, yeah.
We are still pre-release though, right? Like it hasn't launched, has it?
I don't think so. No. I'm not too sure about that, but so far, I mean, like in terms of battery life, it seems like it's doing pretty well. Even when it comes to render performance and things like that, it is still pretty good, but it doesn't appear to be actually as good as other computers within their own lineup, based on the benchmarks that I saw there.
Mm-hmm.
However, while I am happy that, things have actually lived up to that standard that Apple was touting at first, like super strong battery life and that sorts of stuff, because they're using a brand new chip, there are going to be a lot of compatibility issues. Whether the app will run at all, or whether the app is just going to run inconsistently or maybe not properly as it should. I'm going to give you an example. Photoshop is working on a version that is specifically for the M1 chips.
Right.
Actually, because their current version of Photoshop does have some compatibility issues in regards to their M1 chips. So they're preparing a separate version of Photoshop that is compatible with that chip. So that's just one example. And I'm very glad that developers are getting on board with it, because this kind of project is going to require a lot of support, I think.
Yeah. Oh no, totally. It's I mean, it's a huge thing. You're moving away from established CPUs like Intel or AMD to make your own thing. You're probably going to run into some support issues from the start. So, I mean, Apple is big enough to where they can get that support pretty easily, wouldn't they?
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely.
My thing is just, if it turns out to actually be successful, how long is it going to be until, other places are doing their own internal parts, like Lenovo making their own CPU, for example, as opposed to using Intel or AMD,
Uh,
you know.
so the thing is, and I'm going to say this, and I do mean this quite bluntly when I say this. Um, Apple is Apple, which is why they get the support that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are some things that really only Apple can pull off while the rest of the world still cares. So that would be the main concern. Like we could have other companies like Lenovo, even Microsoft to an extent, though I think Microsoft, if they don't do well with this, would probably be more of an outlier. Like if they were to create their own chip, uh, it it just wouldn't garner the kind of popularity or support in general as it would for Apple. Because one, Apple's marketing is incredible. Like they know how to market their products to make them seem very appealing.
There's also that cult of personality, that sort of like, and the whole, again, it's like a status symbol. We've gone over this multiple times in the
Yeah.
past as well. Very much, oh, iPhone is a status symbol, makes you look like you have good tastes. iMacs or MacBooks make you look professional when it comes to doing like artistic works.
Yeah.
So
It's a blue bubble for the iMessage that really sets you apart from the rest.
Exactly. Yeah, the fact that you use Final Cut Pro or something is who.
Yeah. I mean, it has Pro in the end, therefore you're totally professional.
That's right. And GarageBand makes you like sound like almost like you're a startup, like you're like that appealing startup garage guy. And I'm fiddling with this thing. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
The mic probably picked that one up, but just a little think. All right. Yeah, no, I mean, totally. No, Apple is obviously going to be the one that's going to be able to get away with this first. But my thing is, if Apple can actually innovate and that becomes like sort of the norm, again, Microsoft can easily follow suit. And then maybe Samsung or something if they enter that kind of field. And then before you know it, yeah, every single brand for laptop is using their own internal parts. You know what I mean?
I can't really picture a future where this is the case.
I guess I'm thinking a little bit almost in terms of like how like a lot of companies have done their own streaming services now instead of just using Netflix. It's kind of like that fracturing of content. So I'm thinking, make your own parts cheaper that way. But
I mean, I guess so. I would argue that they're both pretty different markets. So, like, it would be easier to get into the streaming market for some companies or for the companies that are in it than it would be for Lenovo to develop their own CPU.
Yeah, I'm also going to admit very upfront that I'm being pretty dumb right now. Like, my brain is just way out of there. It's like,
No, you're fine.
It's just way out.
You're fine.
So, yeah. Today's not going to be the hottest of takes for Chris today.
So if you're here for the hot takes, I'm sorry to bring in the cold news.
Yeah, no, just gonna be Francisco carrying the load today.
Aren't I always? I'm kidding. I'll mute you. No, I'm joking. But
all right.
So, yeah, like things are looking pretty promising for Apple's new laptops. I do believe that they're going to get that kind of support that they need. Or if they don't get it from other companies, they're the ones that would make it happen.
So from an outsider looking in, like you said, you weren't able to get your hand on one of these devices, but from an outsider looking in, do you think so far that they're on the right track, like a recommended device or something, or is it still in the realm of like just overpriced for what's inside?
I wouldn't say that it is necessarily overpriced for what's inside. It's just right now it's really just beta testing a product because the internals aren't going to be compatible with absolutely everything that you come across, even if it is compatible with Mac OS. So I would say that there is going to be a pretty long transitionary period. I think that Apple is still going to keep the Intel chips on the high end for at least a couple more years until they feel like they have a chip that can actually replace that. But so far, it seems like they do have a chip that can replace your usual i5s or mobile i7s and that kind of thing. That would that a long time ago used to be dual cores. Now they're more so like quad cores.
Right.
But yeah, like I think that it really is just a matter of time until they get there. And so far, it seems like they are on the right track. They just need to make sure that now, all of those years that went into development for macOS, that at least a good fraction of that can actually go into developing for this chip. Though that might be a lot easier than saying developing an entire library of things surrounding an operating system.
So we're very much in kind of like a wait and see sort of mode, right?
Yeah, essentially.
Right.
Like when it comes to these, like beta testing, I'm sure that those that have actually had their hands on this laptop have actually enjoyed it. They have a lot of great things to say about it. My main concern just has to do with compatibility.
Right. By any chance, do the iPads tend to have their own there's no M1 chips in the iPads, are there?
No. So they actually technically use iPhone chips.
Really?
Yeah, but they use better iPhone chips.
So it's just overclocked iPhone chips.
Overclocked.
And I just remembered you actually have an iPad with you right over here.
I do. This is the 2018 iPad Pro. I can edit my 4K videos on this thing just fine. And I actually use LumaFusion in order to edit my videos. And you can download like a bunch of color correction tools. You can download a bunch of transitions. And while the app itself only costs $30, it sounds like a lot for an app, but it is absolutely worth it for what it offers. You can do so much with it. Like this is a proper replacement for a video editor. However, if you're doing more so 3D work, then you don't really have that many options on that.
Not really, no. Sculptura, Sculptura, and then
3D.
A couple other options. Yeah, Sculptura 3D as opposed to Sculptura 2D. No, but that's definitely one concern. And we were talking before the show a little bit about possible 2-in-1 laptops or tablets that I could possibly use, just because my actual laptop at home, which is a Dell Inspiron 15, I believe. It's really chunky.
Yeah.
It's really chunky.
It's a gaming laptop.
Exactly. It's a gaming laptop, which is really strong for being able to, handle those 3D apps, but at the same time is also very clunky and, it's not very good for traveling with. Like, say, for example, traveling from where I am over to here for the recordings and stuff like that is really difficult to work with.
Right.
So I've been looking into other things like that, and I think we should dedicate some time in another episode for that a little bit, maybe, or talk about that some more.
Yeah, sure. Like we can totally go into more detail later on.
Yeah.
However, I will say this: iPad Air.
iPad Air
is seeming like a pretty great option for you.
Either the iPad Air or, I know you're saying it's expensive, but maybe a Surface Pro, just because Surface Pro will have native ZBrush support, seeing how it's running on Windows as opposed to any other OS.
Yeah, I just hope that it can actually run it well, and that you have the money to get the version that can run it well.
I'll definitely be looking into that a little bit more. And it's, of course, subject that can come up for another time as well, just for, on a more casual day. But we do have a feature presentation today.
We do.
So join me, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, for Night of the Living Scalpers.
There we go.
For once again, the Scalpers are back again, this time targeting the PS5 and the Xbox Series S/X. They're also going to be targeting the AMD GPUs, which,
the same way that they did with the CPUs, FYI.
Exactly. They're going to be doing the same thing with the AMD GPUs, which, as of the release of this episode, will be either launched or just about to launch, like within hours of launching.
Yeah.
But right now, we have to talk about the fact that they've been scalping the hell out of the video game consoles, because that launched within this past week.
Yeah. That launched. Well, the Xbox Series X launched on the 10th, and the PlayStation 5 launched on the 12th. And a lot of things were technically put in place to try to prevent bots from just being able to storm the site, but it happened with every site where they released. Some even went as far as to just straight up not say at what time they were going to launch. So like some sites launch at like 4 in the morning Eastern time, for instance. I'm like, great. I was definitely asleep at that time, but I have to say that this is really getting out of hand. Like I want to say that before the cryptocurrency mining, the first time that this whole scalping thing was affecting me in any way had to be, well, probably with like getting toilet paper and hand sanitizer, I want to say. But after that, clearly more important stuff is going to be my RTX cards. I was not able to get a 3000 series for myself. Luckily, I was able to buy one on the street from someone.
Help me out here. Did you just say that an RTX card is more important than toilet paper?
I did.
You gonna wipe your ass with the card?
I will.
Well, guys, that's everything we have for you today. That's it. Thanks for starting with us today. Don't ever do that again.
No. Only with the back of the card.
Oh!
I just had to get you with that one.
All right.
No, the episode is in fact not done. But what I will say again, like to start getting back to the whole issue of scalping and stuff, like it happened with the RTX cards,
Yeah.
and now especially it's happening with the consoles. And
It's been happening with the consoles. You go by the PS5 pre-orders.
yes, it's been happening since the pre-orders. Yes, for sure. And now we are seeing on eBay that people are just so proudly taking pictures of them having like 5 units, 10 units, 15 units.
Really?
Yeah, like people, like these scalpers actually seem proud
What
of
is
what they're doing.
What is the eBay going rate for a PS5?
At least double.
So minimum 1,000,
Yeah.
or
For
I
the
guess
disc
800 for the digital only.
Even that one is starting to go upwards of that.
Okay.
Yeah, like oftentimes you go on eBay and it's like 1,200, 1,300, 1,400. Some have actually tried to sell theirs for 13,000 and 20,000, and even upwards of that. Like it is really getting out of control.
Are they succeeding, or is it like another case of those like people who will sort of like way skyrocket the price there and then just refuse to pay it?
They
Which-
have actually sold some. Like if you visit their page, if they had multiple units of any given item, it'll tell you how many they have and how many they've sold so far.
Oh.
And sometimes you'll see like 13 sold for the PlayStation
Oh,
5, like super scalped. And it is ridiculous. Like people, everybody, as much as we all want to play Demon Souls Remake, and I'm speaking for absolutely everybody.
Speak for yourself. I want to put bug snacks. All right? I'm in it for bug snacks.
Anyway, for everyone.
For everyone but Chris.
Including Chris, especially Chris. Do not buy into these consoles. If you have to wait longer, just do it. You won't regret it. I get it. You want to play these launch titles on launch day, and if you don't have a gaming PC or a PC that can just handle games in general, you probably can't really like you can more so justify paying more for a console at that point.
I don't know.
But not double.
Honestly, I don't. Well, first off, yes, I agree entirely. Don't pay these scalper prices, because all you do, like, you can complain all you want about the scalper prices, but if you then buy into them, all you're doing is perpetuating the market.
Yeah,
Now,
you're just
granted-
helping them.
Granted, that's just preaching to the choir, because a lot of the people who are complaining about scalper prices are also not the people who are paying them. But, like, you know what it also is? We're talking about a lot of big launch titles. All right. Set aside Demon Souls. We're going to set aside Demon Souls,
How could we?
because Demon Souls does not help my argument here. But, all right.
Okay, go.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Bug Snacks, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. What else was a big launch title for the PS5? What else was there? Sackboy, the Sackboy game, the Little Big Planet game.
I guess.
That one. These are all games that are also available on the PS4.
Well,
You-
except for Demon Souls Remake.
That's why
but
I put
again-
it aside. That's why I put it aside. I'm ignoring Demon Souls. I'm ignoring Astro's Playroom, because I think Astro's Playroom is also exclusively on the PS5. But ignoring those, most of the launch titles, And let's be real here. When we talk about
Yeah,
when we talk about PS5 launch, a lot of people are really looking at Demon Souls a lot, but
Mhm.
I think the biggest launch title for a lot of people is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
This is a game that you can play on the PS4,
Mhm.
and the performance is perfectly fine. Like you still get a 30 FPS lock, basically on the same par of quality as the original Marvel Spider-Man.
Mhm.
So like,
But
you
you
know,
do get ray tracing on the PS5.
you get ray tracing on the PS5, or you also get the performance mode that gives you a full 60. Which
Yes.
I will say, my friend was streaming on a PS5 the other day because he does have one. He started playing Miles Morales, and he did switch it over to performance mode, and it does look so crisp. But I'm going to ignore that because, again, that's going against my point. These
Right.
games are on the PS4. So if all you really care about is just playing these games, then you can still get them on the PS4 and then like wait until the PS5 launch. Of course, these games are all backwards compatible as well, so you play on the PS4 and you can still play them on the PS5. Which, speaking of, there was actually a small little bit of drama the other day.
Oh, go for it.
With Black Ops Cold War.
What
So
happened?
going into the realm of Call of Duty, where for a lot of people, if they there's multiple because they divided up the download for Black Ops Cold War into multiple things. Campaign, multiplayer. So you can download one piece without having to download the others. So if you don't play the campaign, you just play the multiplayer. Just install the multiplayer.
Well, that's smart, actually.
It is very smart. Problem is, for a lot of people, they don't look at that. They just hit download all,
Mhm.
and that also includes downloading the PS4 version. And so a lot of people are accidentally playing the PS4 version of Black Ops Cold War on their PS5.
Oh no.
It's a small little slip up. It's kind of funny. And I'm trying to remember if it was the PS5 or the Series X. I think actually the Series X, where the game is outright broken.
Oh no.
And keep in mind, Black Ops was one of those games where you actually had to pay for the upgrade. It wasn't like a free smart delivery or free upgrade kind of thing like a lot of these other games. It was just straight up $10 extra, I believe,
Yeah.
for the next gen copy of Cold War if you already bought the past gen. But in any case, these games are going to be available on the PS4. So if if it's just a matter of really itching to play as Miles Morales, you can just pick up the game on PS4. You don't need a PS5 for that.
That is true. A lot of these games are going to be available still on the previous gen consoles, and like mind you, Microsoft and Sony will be supporting the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox Series X.
One X.
Yeah, One X, right? I really hate their naming.
That's right. The Xbox One X
nomenclature.
because they got rid of the original Xbox One, right? The native one, the original one.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's just the X. And do they still sell the Xbox One S?
Most likely. I'm pretty sure that if I go on Amazon, I can probably find one.
Check.
Now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you check right there, and we'll talk about No, they are in fact still going to be supporting these consoles for a little bit. I mean, probably give it like another year or two. So I mean, obviously there are in fact PS5 exclusives that are not going to be coming to PS4, like your Ratchet and Clank or Horizon Forbidden West. But those games are several months to a year away. According to the PS5 ad, Ratchet and Clank and Gran Turismo 7, for example, would be coming around the first half of 2021, and even then, that's assuming there's no delays. Which
That's
I can totally
assuming.
see. I could totally see happening. Horizon Forbidden West is being slated for like the second half of 2021, and frankly, I don't see that happening. I see that being pushed to 2022.
That is pretty soon, yeah.
I see that.
I do want to see
That one's changing.
Yeah. And I hope that we get as many delays as we got for Cyberpunk.
Those poor developers.
Yeah.
I'm not even remember. I'm not even frustrated about the game being delayed. I'm frustrated about the developers being put under crunch. But that is a separate story.
It is a separate issue. However, to answer your question, there are in fact Xbox One S's being sold
Yes.
on Amazon. However, it appears that they're being price scalped.
Is it because they're price scalped in general because people are buying them up, or is it just price scalped because they are no longer being manufactured and these are leftover models?
That's a possibility. So just to double check, I'm gonna go on
Just a side note.
on Microsoft's website and
just
check.
a side note. I'm gonna put out a formal petition to actually discuss Cyberpunk a little bit more in length when we get closer to the release date on this podcast.
Okay, it's on queue at the moment.
All right, like a December 10th. As we get closer to that, just sort of talk about it. Because honestly, I do have a little bit of a bone to pick when it comes to like the developer crunch. As someone who is not necessarily in that industry, I don't work in video games or anything like that, but like who's in the industry of making 3D art things. So video games and movies are relatively close linked in that front.
I do like watching and playing 3D like things.
Yes, I imagine a lot of people do. Well, I mean, most people do. Some people are going to be a little snobbish. Now this is real animation, so it's a 2D stop motion bit. But
I mean, I would agree. I would have to. I'd be forced
yeah,
to as a 2D animator.
yeah. Side note to people who actually do like 2D animation more. I'm not here to talk crap or anything like that. 2D is fantastic. But
Oh no, yeah, you better not.
it's just sort of that elitist kind of thing of like, 3D is not real art. 3D is easier. No, it's not. They each have their own unique challenges.
Yes, of course, of course.
And that concludes the animation corner for Chris. Chris's animation corner.
Yeah.
Chris's cartoon corner. There we go. Yes, Chris's cartoon corner. I love it.
His little Pixar corner.
Yeah.
So yeah, it appears that the Xbox One S is still being sold on the Microsoft Store.
Fantastic.
Yeah, for $300.
Still, I mean, that's more or less what it was costing, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that's the same price as the Series S.
Yes, that's
weird, isn't it?
Well, hold on a second here. That's one thing. Yeah. Just hazard of thoughts for assume that there was no scalping issues or stock issues. Hazard of thought for the grandma who wants to buy their grandson and the new Xbox and ends up picking up the One S instead of the Series S.
That has happened.
The same price.
I think that happened actually with the Series X. That she made sure. I think this happened specifically in a store located in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
She ordered an Xbox Series X, and the store got confused, and they sent her an Xbox One X instead.
Microsoft, fix your crap, please.
No,
Please fix the names.
Yes, like when it comes to the names, we can't have them sounding so similar. The Xbox One should have been the Xbox 720.
And then we would have been on the Xbox 1080 here.
Yeah.
Actually,
no.
No. You're trying to advertise a 4K system as the 1080.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, at that point, you just go all the way up. The Xbox 2160.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Or the Xbox 4K 60. How's that?
No.
No.
Nah. That
4K 120.
Now it sounds like a TV.
Okay.
It sounds like a TV.
RTX Xbox.
Stop.
Or Xbox RTX edition.
Cut it. PS5 cloud saves. Just a brief footnote before we end the episode. So cloud saves has been a part of PS Plus for a little bit now. But it recently came out that you also cannot transfer your save data manually with using like a flash drive or an external hard drive. If you want to back up your data, if you want to transfer your data from one system to another, you need the cloud services on PlayStation Plus. Garbage.
I mean, it's been that way for a long time, so...
You're still able to transfer your stuff physically on a PS4, though.
Yes, and I do actually have an external drive connected to my PS4.
Exactly. You cannot do that with the PS5. You cannot manually transfer over like that. Nope, you gotta back it up on a cloud...
Yeah, either cloud saves or you need their own proprietary storage if you want to be able to expand that in some way, which is very unfortunate because, those USB ports are available on the PlayStation 5. Why not let us use it?
Yeah. Yeah, honestly. No, it's really bad. It's like they're following Nintendo's footsteps here on this one when it comes to making dumb decisions here. I think Microsoft's cloud services are still... I'm starting to sound like a Microsoft shill on this podcast, and I want to assure people that I'm not. I really am not. I don't have an Xbox. I haven't had one in like a decade now.
Crimea River.
It's like... I don't know, man. It's just weird. Again, Sony won the past generation, so of course they're going to be able to just do whatever they want, and people will do it. And Microsoft's going to be the pro gamer, kind of thing about it. But
I would say that the argument for that, though, for like not allowing you to just use any kind of storage with your games, on the PlayStation 5 is that like one thing that is being really strongly touted about these systems is that they operate on an SSD, on a fast one for that matter. So they probably want to make sure that your load times, which is something that people were complaining about a lot, aren't affected by them using, like just a third-party external hard drive.
I understand that, but we're talking about just transferring over. Like, say, for example, my PS5 is breaking.
Mm-hmm.
My PS5 is breaking, and I want to transfer my save data over to an external hard drive so that way I can transfer it onto a new PS5's SSD. Apparently, you can't do that.
Oh, now that's unfortunate.
Apparently, you can't do that. Now, apparently, the only way you can deal with that is by having PS Plus and getting the cloud services.
Ooh.
That
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a tough one.
I might try to expand on that a little bit more at the start of next podcast episode at the very least. Maybe just get at least a bit of an idea, a bit more of an understanding as to what exactly is going on there, so that way I don't trip over myself. But with that said,
We'll get there.
that is in fact the end of today's episode. Thank you all for listening and or watching. Remember,
course.
social media is right down there at the bottom.
And also, if you would like to, if you're listening, visit us on YouTube. That is going to be youtube.com/c/Tech Summit.
That's right. Are there descriptions on Anchor?
There is indeed.
In fact, so if you're listening on Anchor, look into the description for all the social media pages as well as the Tech Summit YouTube channel. Please subscribe.
Yes, of course.
Of course, Francisco on there.
With that said, his social media will come here soon, so
yes,
don't worry.
including my channel. Someday, eventually. It's probably going to be a running joke for a while there.
Yeah. But now, until next time, enjoy.
Good night. Travel well.
Magnifique.